Greetings, everybody, from the end of the awful second week of March. Second full week of March. I'm sure you've all heard about the news by now. It was made official yesterday at like 6 p.m. Something like 8, not 8, 10. 8 was the threshold. Senate Democrats chose to block something that I've been advocating for weeks. I've posted all over the place the letters that I've sent advocating for it. Preventing a clean government shutdown through Congress and allowing this rampage of the government that is illegal to continue. Shame on them. Actually providing a slush fund to enable them and reward them for rampaging through the government without any legal authority. So shame on them. So we don't get to have a clean shutdown. I've said this before. There are people that will say, oh, this is the American people that are going to have to do it. Well, hey, you said that before the election. When you said that after the immunity decision. You said that when they allowed him on the ballot. They're not up to the task. They're not. But maybe they can be made to be up to the task. I don't know. When you look at the fundamentals, that's the reason why it's actually quite disturbing to watch the repeated concession of moderate Democrats, because the question about this stuff is, if there's no Deus Ex Machina, if what matters is the fundamentals, well, we already know, and I have a whole series on this channel that I'm about a third of the way through right now that discusses this. If there's no Deus Ex Machina, if there's nothing to make the fundamentals disappear, then you come back to the fundamentals and it's just devastating. And there's no chance that we'll make it if you look at the fundamentals rather than the fundamentals of what are the American people like? What do they want? What are they willing to sacrifice? What are they able mentally and financially as well able to sacrifice? And when you come back to that, the answer is nothing, pretty much. So at some point, oh, maybe it's happening. Sorry y'all. Maybe it's happening. Maybe the incompetence itself is exactly what I'm talking about. And there still, to this day, are not tanks on this street. And that's impressive. I mean, Pete Hegseth is in charge of the army. What's his face? Cash is in charge of the FBI. And yet, they're still waiting on orders from above. Those orders are never going to come, as I've described later on, and we have yet more evidence from the episode that just happened where he tried to play car salesman for Elon as his company falls apart. Trump, he's got Alzheimer's. Those orders that Cash and all those other people, all those loyalists, because they're loyalists to Trump. They're not loyalists to some ideal, abstract idea of dictatorship. They're loyalists to Trump. And so those orders that they're waiting on are never going to come. And So either they're going to figure out how to do that, which is a scary thing, or they're just going to keep waiting and waiting forever until they get dismissed from their office by the next president, the next elected president. So, and one of the things that's most, that is really a cruel joke about this whole scenario is that Trump was already telegraphing in the final hours before this cloture vote was allowed by these Democrats. It hasn't technically passed, but any attempt at this point to block it is dead on arrival because the filibuster has been satisfied, and that's what matters. So, but Trump already telegraphed that he was going to do a bunch of illegal cuts and impoundment. After, I believe it was Russell Vogt actually, and not Trump, already telegraphed that he was going to do a bunch of illegal cuts that had nothing to do with Congress. After, well, they were negotiating, and the buggers were still too cowardly to just let the damn government shut down. It's like, could it really be worse? Heck, it's probably better for programs like Social Security. I've heard that they don't shut down even when the government does. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask people in my family that receive. But I've heard that they don't even shut down, whereas they're in grave danger with what's going on now. But he was already telegraphing that he was going to break any kind of compromise or agreement. He's not a good faith negotiator anyway, just like Putin. But they still caved, because they just addicted to caving, I guess. And I don't know, if we have primaries, we'll have to get them out. There's no point in having them in office anymore. But these 10, and I'll post a link. I'll post a list of them in the description. Chief among them, Chuck Schumer, the minority leader that we have now. What a feckless leader. Mitch McConnell. He'd be so much better if he was on our side. He tried to be. He tried to follow his conscience. He's not the majority leader anymore, but he tried to follow his conscience. Yeah. But why are they so afraid of primaries anyway? Why are everybody so afraid of primaries? Why are they so afraid of the 2026 midterms? Why are they so afraid of that? If we don't do our jobs, we're not going to have them. The natural consequences, I wrote this in my email. You have the script to my email that I gave to Chuck Schumer. I put that in the community pages, the community tab, in a post on YouTube. And why are they even so afraid of that stuff? It's like they're in some kind of denial, because none of them can give me a straight answer. None of the people that obsess and obsess and obsess over the midterms can give me a straight answer as to why they think we'll have them. None of them. And so if you can't give me a straight answer, I'll just assume that it's just a coping. I'm just going to assume that it's a coping mechanism, and that you cannot handle the idea, that you're not even considering because you can't psychologically handle the idea that we're not going to have elections, even though it's a likely idea that we could not have them. It's certainly very possible. But you're just not willing to cope with that idea and seriously consider it. And so you're obsessing about the midterms and whatever. It's I don't like that kind of denial. Life's too short, especially now. The hour is too late to be engaging in this kind of denial. We don't have a lot of time left. As I've said before, the odds are against us, mankind, making it this century. They've been against us for a long time, with the exception of the past 4 years, and we gotta be exceptional and get out of that again. And I don't have patience for people that try to protect themselves with not thinking about it, and delusions and truisms that they can't explain why they believe, and obsessions that they can't explain why they have. I'm done with that shit. I've lived through that in my personal life, and the thing that they were in denial about always eventually happened, and I was the one that was stuck dealing with it and trying to figure out how to recover from it and get everybody else back on their feet. I was the one that had to be prepared for it and ready for it, because they couldn't handle it because they were in denial. And that's fucked up, that somebody that's 8 or 10 years old would have to serve that role. But I don't know, it'll help me if I ever serve in any kind of elected office, I guess. Life's too short to do that. Just fucking face your problems. Anyway, I'm kind of going in circles. Pardon my French. Yeah. I really don't understand why we don't already have tanks on the street. Project 2025 was not all it was cracked up to be. That roster was really not all it was cracked up to be. I don't understand why it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Like, they were trying to overthrow the government. I would have expected that they would have had a stronger game plan. This was their second attempt. But hey, I'll take what I can get. I'm grateful for it. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm just glad that we're able to speak freely. I don't like the fact that people take that for granted. Even people in my family take that for granted. But I don't. I sure don't. That's why I started this channel. Because it's like, it's the 27th of January, and Congress hasn't been purged yet, and blah 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 hasn't happened yet. Let me fight. Let me do the old college try and actually try to stop this. If I can. And if I can't, well, at least my conscience will feel better. Anyway, so G7 excludes America. That's we're called a hostile country. What was it, the G7 or the NATO summit? I think it was the NATO summit that I was talking about. The G7 did invite Marco Rubio, although they took some petty jabs at the United States in the text of the summit, as well as having a very small carpet for him when he came in so that he could really be humiliated. Good for them. Good for them. But I'm happier with the NATO summit, where we just weren't allowed to show up at all. We were not considered trustworthy. They're figuring out how to do it on their own, and I would love to believe that I would love to believe that I helped them see what their priorities needed to be. That I helped with my email. I'd love to think that. Anyway, and y'all too. None of it would have been possible without you. Musk has been trying to weaken the judiciary. He's trying to flip an election in Wisconsin, an election of a judge. Wisconsin's a swing state. I would be surprised if that Republican judge wins. No matter how much, you can't make economic pain and chaos and people losing their contracts and stuff like that. You can't make that go away with solid Republican districts are swinging in special elections. So I don't think it's going to work. But he's pouring his money in there. And frankly, more money, more money, more money. I want him to have as little money as possible. If this is a game of money, then this is a game that we can win. If this is a game of arms, then we're going to lose. But if it's money, then we're going to win. It's already happening with Tesla. And I'm so happy that the people that are engaging in this most heavily are the people that are most compromised by the American people. And that, like Target, for instance, as well. These boycotts, they're working. But, yeah. And he's trying to get a bill passed in Delaware. He's really getting big for his britches and ballsy, Elon Musk. He's trying to get a bill passed in Delaware to weaken the judiciary in some way. I'll post the link to a more specific discussion of it. And yeah, maybe they'll pass it. Maybe they'll make themselves less appealing as a place to do business. Who knows? And I don't agree with a lot of what Delaware does with business anyway, in that you can set up shell companies there and stuff like that. But he ain't going after that. I'm sure he has a bunch of them himself. So, yeah, it's working. Trump was reduced to being a car salesman for Tesla because of Elon's bad behavior, and people are boycotting his products. Even Trump said in his, he played car salesman, tons of clear signs of dementia, and he's a famous liar, world famous liar. Truth comes out of the mouth of babes, though, and he said that he did not like the idea of Tesla, of Elon's new self-driving car that he's been promising for so long. He's saying it's going to be next year. Trump didn't want that. Oh, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. Truth comes out of the mouth of babes. And when you have somebody that's such a liar like that, it really is a sign of dementia when they start telling the truth about stuff when they're off script. And we're seeing even more signs of dementia with his comments about that he made hours before about how this was an illegal boycott. Illegal boycott. What is an illegal boycott? There's no such thing. But if you have dementia and everything that you don't like is illegal, then it makes a whole lot of sense. And so, like, if you're Cash or one of those people, don't listen to this video. Trump is amazing and great and blah blah blah, and he'll give you all the orders you ever need. Don't do anything unless he gives you an express order. Anyway, are they all gone? Those orders are never gonna come. He's never gonna give the order. And I've heard from some people that Musk is still active in the federal government at a quieter level, And we should pay attention to that. We should pay attention to what Musk is still doing. We can't let ourselves go into our vices and get comfortable and lose control of ourselves. It's something that it's a problem that I've had. And I was completely caught off guard with this whole government shutdown thing because of my own experience in that way. And it's a disaster. And I was all out of it and not mentally put together when I got that news. And that's why it took me like a day to respond, even in the community posts to you. I can't keep failing like that. I'm just glad that I'm able to keep up my normal schedule. But we can't make these mistakes. You have to. It's so hard. Especially when things start feeling comfortable again. And you crave that comfort so much. And you still have the 1,000-yard stare. Because you just lived through a bunch of trauma. And you know you're in the eye of the storm. But you crave it so bad. Things that give you comfort. But a lot of those things are not healthy. And we have to stay healthy. And part of that is staying away from drugs. Staying away from even unhealthy food, perhaps. Certainly sexual acting out and stuff like that. Staying away from anything that will forcibly alter us and make us feel instantly better. And food is a gray area. There's lots of great food. There's food that reminds us that isn't so healthy, but it reminds us of when we were children and stuff like that. It's something that you can engage with and you can be mindful of. But certainly those other things, like drugs and acting out, is not healthy at all. And it's part of why I was so caught off guard. And you can hopefully all learn a lesson from that. Of there's going to be more bad news. This is not the last bad news that we're going to get. And I'm astonished, frankly, that this much bad news, like every single one of the metrics, I think I talked about it in last video, every single metric that I tracked, that of whether we're going to go to a tanks in the street kind of situation. Almost all of them, and the tariffs are starting to kick in, and that was one of the things. The economic distress was one of the protective factors. But that was months later. Every single one of the criteria, the check boxes for whether it was worth continuing to fight at all or whether it was too late, has gone, and yet we don't have tanks in the street yet, and it's bizarre. And it really shows just how much dementia this guy really has. And I'm grateful. And the 2020 election was the most important election we ever had. Happy late Providence Day for all of you. This was Providence Day, by the way, is the anniversary of the beginning of the COVID pandemic. Happy Providence Day. And the 2020 election, which was given to us, which was a lottery, it was we acted like it was a paycheck, but it wasn't. It was a lottery ticket. The 2020 election was the most important election of our lifetimes because he could have, the American people are just rolling over now for the most part. But the guy has dementia. Imagine what he could do if he didn't have dementia. And I am so grateful that that election was won. And I'll be more grateful as more stuff happens and he gets stopped in more ways. And the rest of the world is not putting up with this. And But this week was a bad week. And whatever our Deus Ex Machina is going to be, and there has to be something, because the fundamentals are so horrible that there's no other way. Whatever our Deus Ex Machina is, it's not going to be the Democrats. Just to make that clear at this point, if that's not already abundantly clear. So, yeah, God bless you all. Take care. And I hope that you have a productive week. And stay safe. God bless you all. See you tonight or tomorrow with a reading from my paper, and then the next fireside a week from now, unless some emergency happens deep into the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that I have to talk about. Bye.